Hey guys, Attorney Walter Hnot. Now we're going to go through a topic that I haven't really covered before, but I keep getting emails about it, so I thought I would do it. I'm actually at a disadvantaged kind of location right now because I'm in New Jersey, and when it comes to guns and the politics of New Jersey, they're absolutely terrible. Like the state and guns, they just don't mix. Florida, amazing. New Jersey, absolutely terrible. But we're going to be getting specifically into essentially with firearms, which ones you should own. Now, when I do this video, first up front, you need to know these are not unrealistic guns. They're not super expensive guns. They are essentially those things that which, basically you could purchase for a reasonable price, consistently would give you a good working product. They're easy to clean, things like that. Now, when we go through this, remember, if you are not trained, go get a course on it. Go get, your certificate course on it. Go get your, concealed carry, all those details. That's really important. Learn how to use them safely, learn how to aim them, where to put your thumb, where to put your finger, all the eye protection, ear protection, learn all that stuff. It's crucial. Now, we're going to get right into it, but please remember to like, subscribe, and leave 5-star reviews. Here we go. If you want to leave a 5-star review, very cool. Just Google disability resolution law firm. That's all I ask. All right, let's get into this. Now, I can't show you these operational firearms because I'm in New Jersey. Do I own some of these? Pretty much all of them. But the bottom line is this. I need you to know I'm just giving you a sampling right now. And then down the line, I'll make another video where I go through the specifics of each one, how to clean it, what to do with it, how to aim it, all that stuff. All right, here we go. So first thing, I, unlike a lot of people, or at least what people think people carry, I don't carry usually in my concealed carry a big gun. I don't. It's just unrealistic. I'm not a huge person. I'm 5'9". It just doesn't make sense. When you see these movies and these super skinny, tiny females pull out this massive, giant revolver, that's not how it works. It's never worked that way. It's all cinema magic. All right, I want to show you guys some basics real quick. I actually traditionally carry a 22 Magnum. It's a very basic little simple gun. Let me kind of go through the things. This is your switch folding gun. Very simple, very cute, makes a little square, very easy to use. Bottom line is this, it unfolds, right? So you pull it out of your pocket, you unfold it, and you're ready to go, okay? It's a Magnum, which means it has the capacity to go through the body. So kind of just the basics, like a 22 that'll enter the skull through one side but won't exit. 22 Magnum will go through one side and out the other. Now, this switch gun usually runs for around $450. So, it's a little on the pricey side. Now, before that gun was ever created, there's another gun that basically has a longer barrel, which I actually have a preference for. I prefer this one. This gun in particular, basically, very cute, very small. Will fit in a pocket. Nobody will know what it is. Fit in a pocket on a small human being, small female, etc. This is the North American Arms Folding Magnum 22. The bottom line with this is that, it comes in all different kinds, shapes, sizes, all that stuff. What's nice about the prior gun is that it makes a perfect little square, so you really can't tell what it is essentially in your pocket. But then when it comes to essentially this, there's a little bit more hint as to potentially what it is in your pocket. Now, with that said, again, very simple, easy to clean. You go ahead and you pull it out and you're ready to go. Okay. Now, with that said, that should be under consideration for your daily carry, right? The little Switch 22 gun, the North American Arms 22 Magnum gun. They're very tiny, very easy to use, very easy to carry. Nobody's going to really notice what's going on, especially, of course, if you have your concealed carry permit. Now, with that said, if you want a larger gun, but still want a very small package. Remember, this video is about guns that you're going to use, not fancy engravings, not nice burl wood, none of that crap. We're throwing all of the nice, no bazooka, none of that stuff. We're throwing all that out. If you want a slightly larger gun, you're going to look at what's called the Sig Sauer P365. The Sig Sauer P365, again, obviously I own all these guns, but the bottom line is the Sig Sauer P365, classic looking gun, very simple. But what's amazing about it is they redesigned the whole interior of it. And inside here, the magazine is actually double stack. It's a side-by-side. So when you put the bullets in, they stack kind of like this, and then they just go down, right? That means you can get a heck of a lot of bullets in a really, really tiny gun. That's a 9mm, right? So now we're talking, instead of a 22 Magnum, 22 Magnum is my usual concealed carry. Now we're talking about a 9mm. Now, I will say this. A lot of police officers usually carry a 9 mil, 40 millimeter, or 45, right? Those are your classic base use guns, okay? Now, the 9 millimeter is something I prefer because I'm not a huge guy, I'm 5'9", and there's not much recoil. And if you're getting a gun that has some metal on it, right, it's not just all polymer, then when you go to shoot, the balance of it tends to be significantly better. You're not all the way up here. You're just slight movements. And that's important for repetitive, continuous shooting in case there's a problem where you need to go ahead and fire quickly. So the bottom line is Sig Sauer, amazing brand. I've loved them since literally they were first coming out with great guns. I think they're incredible. I'm a big fan. But the bottom line is this. Sorry, Peggy, I'll go ahead and summarize to you up to this point. So the bottom line is this. That gun is really cool for one particular reason above all. And that's because it has a 10+1 stack, meaning that when you put those bullets into that magazine, right, you're click, 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 putting them into the magazine, you get 10 bullets in the magazine, and then you get 1 bullet specifically in the gun, right? So it's a 10 in the magazine plus 1 in the gun, okay? Now you can get bigger magazines to fit into it, totaling 15 plus 1. But remember, then you have more magazines sticking out of the bottom of it. Can this gun, a Sig P365, fit inside your pocket? Yes, but not for smaller women. Smaller females, petite females, obviously, stuff like that. It's never going to fit in your pants pocket. Not even close. It's not going to fit. So that's a great gun to go ahead and basically keep in your car. Very low upkeep. It hardly ever jams. It's just an amazing, amazing firearm, and you've got a lot of bullets basically already pre-packed into the gun. Now, just for Peggy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and summarize where we're at. For your concealed carry, the little gun, the itty-bitty gun that you're going to keep on your person that's not going to bug you, it's not going to be obtrusive, it's going to be appropriate for most situations, that would be the 22 North American Magnum, 22 Magnum, which is a gun that basically flips out, or what they call essentially the switch gun, which is basically a squared off version of the classic North American flip out gun. I'll show another quick picture just to go ahead and summarize for Peggy. So this is basically, this is actually my favorite gun. A lot of people would be like, that's disgusting. How could you say that? It's a tiny little itty bitty 22 Magnum. The reality is, guys, most times when you are, as a disabled person or a retired person in a bad situation, you're not facing somebody with a firearm. You're facing somebody who's just being an ass or being a problem or being just inappropriate for that situation. They might have a knife. They might have some other weapon. They might have a baseball bat. This is good for that situation. It is not good for a firefight. It's just not. The aiming is not going to be okay. It's not a large enough caliber. There's not enough bullets, etc. Okay. Now, with that said, oh wow, Charlton Zimmerman is right on the money. We're actually going right into that. That's perfect. And what I really appreciate about Mr. Zimmerman right there is that he's essentially going into what's important for the specific situations. And that's what I want this video about. I don't want it to be a video about like you have a bazooka or you have an AR-15 and how are you going to use it and some wacky one-offs. That's irrelevant. What's relevant is basic daily activities and safety. That's what it comes down to. All right, now, when it comes to this Sig P365, that's like around 500 bucks. Used to be around 360 bucks. Now it's around 500 bucks because all guns went up significantly in price. It is what it is. That North American Arms folding gun, the one that's my favorite gun, that's around 350 bucks. The mini carry gun, that's like the switch gun, the little square that pops out, that's around 450 bucks. Okay, what type of gun, and we're going to go into what Mr. Zimmerman put there, what type of gun do you keep in your house? Do you keep, by your bed? Do you keep near, obviously in a safe way so that, nothing bad can happen where, a child could potentially get a hold of it. You have to be very safe about this stuff. But what type of gun should you use to go ahead and have protection in your home? I have all kinds of ridiculous, big, giant. I would probably never grab them in a bad situation unless I had time to. It's just unrealistic. The guns that I think are the most appropriate for in your house for quick, immediate action. Because remember, when it hits the fan and you're sitting there and all of a sudden you hear somebody breaking through the window, right? You're going to need something quick that you can grab and interact with. The guns that I actually think are the best for this right in line with Mr. Zimmerman, is actually a mini shotgun type of gun. And it's actually a hybrid gun. The gun that I really like, and this is the old model, and they came out, other brands came out with ones to compete because it was so successful, is the Taurus Judge. I actually own one of the earliest prototype models, and it is absolutely fantastic. What is it? It's a gun, kind of looks like a classic gun, but it's got this weird thing about it, right? Let me show you real quick so that you kind of see exactly what I'm talking about. So it's got this really, really long section right there. That's because that gun can carry not only 45, but also, which is essentially what, most police officers use, but also 410 shotgun shells. Now, 410 is a much smaller version of a 12 gauge shotgun. It's a much smaller, tiny itty bitty version of a 12 gauge shotgun. And the reality is this: you can actually set these up to have different types of bullets or shotgun shells based upon the scenario that you think you're going to run into. So the reality in my head is that when somebody is entering your home, in my head this makes sense, might be different for you. You're going to want basically 45s in that gun for a little bit of distance and specifics, right? You're going to want essentially that bullet to go through a wall, through with accuracy to a particular spot to get that person before they get to you. And then after that, after a couple of those 45s, you're going to want to transition to, in the same gun that you've already set up in the cylinder, right? Boom, boom, boom. It keeps rotating. You're going to want, for example, like 410 shotgun shells. Because if that person is still interacting with you in that house after you've engaged them with that 45, right? After you've already shot a bullet with them, at that point, what happens is that person now essentially is probably going to be getting closer to you if they're not running away. If they're running away, you're probably not going to be shooting at them. But if they're not running away, you're going to need shotgun shells, something that spreads out. And that's why they make all these really cool different 410 shotgun shells. So the bottom line is, it's called the Taurus Judge. I love it. I have one of those guns. It's I have one of the earliest prototype ones where they didn't even do some of the metal work that you see in all the current ones. I absolutely think it's amazing. The fluting isn't done on mine. But the bottom line is this: that is an amazing gun to keep next to you in a safe manner when you are sleeping. I know a lot of people who have kind of the shorter barrel ones. They keep it in one of those orange marine boxes or fishing boxes where they're like watertight, and they basically mount it to the wall in their bathroom or even in their shower area. And the result and reason why is that a lot of people don't realize, but if somebody's going to break in, one of the spots that you become the most fragile, potentially unprotected, is when you're taking a shower or you're in the bathroom. So a lot of people do that. I don't usually do that because I'm usually a concealed carry type individual, but that's something to consider. Mazzy Star, thank you. The judge is most excellent. Indeed, indeed, good sir. And the reason why they call it the judge, ironically, is that gun had a history of judges taking it to court as their concealed carry firearm. And basically, that was the foundational gun for judges to have. It's a 45 shell versus a 410 shotgun shell. It gave them a lot of options to interact with situations that were really potentially negative. Now, another gun that is the same gig, it's the same kind of thing, is essentially the Smith & Wesson Governor. The Governor is essentially the same thing. It's just made by a more famous company. It is slightly more expensive. The Taurus is like it's $450 to $700. The Governor from Smith & Wesson is like $500 to $750. Now, I want to point something out here with this real quick. The bottom line, and they all look the same because they all do the same thing. If you have the option to buy stainless steel, there is a negative, which is that it's shiny, it's bright, unless they put some sort of coating on it to paint it a different color, or, they have special coats that they put on it to do design, stuff like that. It's a negative if it's stainless because of the color. However, the upkeep of a stainless firearm is so much easier and so much better. And if you live in Florida, it's so absolutely crucial because of the salt content in the air. A lot of people don't realize that, but Florida, tons of waterways, lots of salt content. It's getting into the air, gets onto the guns, becomes a huge problem. So if you're living in a state where there's potential for assault, New Jersey on the roads, or the waterways of Florida, absolutely go with a stainless steel based firearm. It should last longer, but that depends on use, and that depends on essentially what types of bullets you use that are sent through the barrel. Now, with that said, these are to some degree firearms that are pricey, meaning that an individual might have a difficult time essentially affording them. I get that. I understand. They have websites where you can buy used ones, but you have to be really, really careful with that because you never know what you're getting. And you then have to pay a price on top of that to have that firearm sent to a specific dealer who's licensed to receive, and then give you well, I mean, essentially you go ahead and pay their fee and then receive that firearm. So when you have to do that, there is usually a $25, $35, whatever fee on top of that. So the bottom line is these are, in my opinion, the 22 Magnum fold out pistols, right? North American Arms, which is my favorite firearm, or essentially the switch gun, the folding out 22 Magnum. That's the best gun in my case when it comes to concealed carry. It's simple, it's easy, but remember, you can't take it onto federal government property, state government property. You can't take it to USPS. You can't take it to any government building or interaction with court. You can't do any of that stuff. You can't take it into a school, things like that. So just remember, you have to learn the rules of where you can have one and where you should not have one. Another thing too is that that gun, those little cute 22 fold-out magnums, are not going to be acceptable in an actual firefight. You're never going to be using that in a successful manner or way. I mean, sure, you could return fire, but the bottom line is you better have a great exit strategy because you are going to get outgunned very easily with one of those. Now, if you had something like the P365 Sig Sauer 9mm 10+1, 10 bullets in the clip and one in the barrel, then in that case, you could potentially be a real threat in a firefight. If you have, for example, the Taurus Judge, alternative options, again, you would be very successful in one of those situations. Now, none of these are going to be good firearms against, for example, heavy-duty rifles or heavy-duty shotguns. Okay? They're not. If somebody has a 12-gauge shotgun, that is going to be the king of of that room, of that situation. If somebody has an AR-15, that person is going to be the king of that room, of that situation. It's because they have high capacity. It's because they have bullets that are very large, very powerful, and very, very accurate and consistent. The guns have a long barrel, so it's going to hit the spot consistently of where it's aimed. So just keep in mind, like, these are firearms that are realistic for somebody just getting into it that potentially has not owned one before. Now, with that said, I've said on the show previously that some people who watch this channel are not going to want to buy a firearm. That's totally fine. Nobody should ever push you into the idea of having to own a firearm. If you want to exist without one, totally cool, totally fine. Now, with that said, for those individuals who do want to begin getting into it, the best thing to do is to go ahead and begin by getting a safety course. Safety courses are really simple. They're not a lot of money, and frankly, they usually lead to you getting certification to have a concealed carry, which is absolutely crucial. Because when bad things happen, they usually happen not in your house. They're usually happening somewhere outside, etc., where you're interacting with the general public. All right. Now, I hope you guys are doing well. I will catch you a little bit later. We're going to be doing one more video after this, and then we're going to actually go to bed. But have a wonderful, wonderful night, and we'll go from there. And hopefully this video gave you some reasonable options to go ahead and look into for purchase. All right. Have an absolutely wonderful day, and thank you so much. Bye-bye, guys. Have fun.